When it comes to world building, Marvel has always been the king of connecting everything in their movies, and now they're retaking that to a whole new level with the Eternals. We talked about this movie being like a space fantasy version of Game of Thrones, but with a much better ending. So let's get into it. This video is full of spoilers for the comics and the new movie. Also, a quick shout out to Marvel for finally giving us a good reason to subscribe to their streaming service. Because without spoiling anything, the mid-credits scene is worth it alone. First, let's talk about the Eternals themselves. They are a fictional alien race created by the Celestials, who first appeared in the comics. Back in 1973, their name comes from the fact that they are literally immortal. Not just in the sense that they can't die, but also that they are completely unable to stop existing, even if they wanted to. When the Celestials genetically experimented on humans in the distant past, it created two types of mutants. One that was evil called the Deviant, and the other which was immortal and called the Eternal. The Eternals all have superhuman abilities such as super strength, speed, durability, and stamina, as well as having a life expectancy of up to 1,000 years. Each Eternal also has a unique cosmic-powered ability, such as energy manipulation or teleportation. And we get to see most of these abilities in the movie. In the comics, the Eternals live in hidden societies across the world. Some of them barely hiding, while others were so secretive that they went unnoticed until relatively recently. But in the film, we learn that the Eternals actually all live together openly in a hidden city in China called Xianzhou. For some reason, they never left this city. Not even sure why. Maybe they didn't want to be noticed, or maybe they couldn't leave for some reason. Regardless, the main character Cersei, who has been on Earth since the beginning of the Bronze Age, eventually falls in love with a mortal man named Dane Whitman, and she ends up leaving the city to go live with him in modern London. During her time outside of the city, she discovers a sword in an old Scottish castle called the Ebony Blade, and she ends up bringing it back to the Eternal City, where it attracts the attention of the Deviants, who decide to attack the Eternals. Deviant, they are also a race of immortal beings created by the Celestials at the same time as the Eternals. In the comics, Deviants have the ability to mutate, granting them the power to alter their own genetic makeup at will, meaning that no two Deviants look alike, and each one of them has different powers depending on how they choose to mutate. However, in the movie, the Deviants are a lot more straightforward, with them being essentially monsters whose only goal is to kill everyone. Now, the interesting thing about both the Eternals and the Deviants is that they are both technically already dead. See, when the Celestials came to Earth, they didn't just experiment on humans, they also experimented on monkeys and other animals, creating a bunch of new species of superpowered beings, including the Hulk. This process of altering DNA is what the Celestials call the UNIMIND, and it essentially merges all of their creations into one single organism, making all of the Eternals, Deviants, Hulks, and humans all part of the same thing. This means that every time an Eternal or a Deviant dies, their consciousness is transferred to the UNIMIND, and then redistributed among the rest of the species, which is why none of them can truly die. Now, I won't spoil exactly how this plays out in the movie, but the final battle is definitely affected by this concept. When the Deviants begin attacking the Eternals, Cersei is forced to return to the Eternal City along with Dane, and they end up joining with the other Eternals to try to defend it. At first, the Eternals seem like they'll easily win, but the Deviants prove to be a lot stronger than they expected, forcing them to flee. After escaping, Athena realizes that the only way to defeat the Deviants is to take the fight directly to their home planet of Titan and destroy it. The problem is that doing so would also destroy the Celestial Madonna, which is where all of the Eternals and Deviants came from and where the UNIMIND resides. So destroying it would mean destroying the entire species. However, the Eternals still decide to do it, and they go to Titan. Except it turns out that Ikaris and Gilgamesh have gone rogue and decided to sacrifice themselves to prevent the destruction of the Celestial Madonna. The remaining Eternals are devastated, and they feel guilty for letting the Deviants win. But Kingo tells them that Ikaris and Gilgamesh made their own choices, and that there's nothing they can do about it. So instead of focusing on the guilt, he says that they should focus on honoring the wishes of their fallen comrades by defeating the Deviants once and for all. Realizing what they need to do, the Eternals combine their powers and use them to completely destroy Titan, which does destroy the Celestial Madonna and brings an end to the Deviant threat. As the smoke clears, we see that the battle was successful and the Earth is safe. But it comes at a great cost because in doing this, they ended up killing all of the Eternals except for Cersei, who is seemingly the only one left alive. Now, while this ending may seem kind of anticlimactic, it is actually pretty consistent with the source material. In the comics, the Eternals have been around since the dawn of humanity, and they've each played a major role in shaping human history, civilization, and culture. They've influenced major events like the invention of agriculture, the construction of the pyramids, and the founding of many ancient cities. There are rumors that some of the gods worshipped by ancient civilizations were actually Eternals in disguise. They've also had major roles in shaping the lives of some of Earth's heroes and villains, influencing events such as the creation of the Avengers and the rise of Thanos. But despite all this, the Eternals have always remained hidden, preferring to guide humanity from the shadows rather than interfering directly. That is, until now. At the end of Avengers Endgame, an elderly Eternal named Gilgamesh shows up at the door of Dane. Whitman, aka the future Black Knight, offering him a warning about the coming threat of the Deviants, the Eternals. Sworn enemies who were banished from their kind long ago for their violent nature. Now, this isn't the first time that the Eternals have shown up in the MCU. In fact, there are several references to them throughout the MCU, such as in Captain America, the first Avenger when Howard Stark is talking about the Tesseract. He mentions that the energy contained within it is similar to the energy signature of an Eternal. There are also some Easter eggs in other MCU films, but I don't want to spoil those here. You'll have to find those yourself. But basically, this movie is a good starting point for anyone who wants to get into the world of the Eternals. It introduces all of the main characters and concepts and sets up the main plot of the series. And while the ending may seem kind of sad, it's actually pretty hopeful because it sets up the possibility of other Eternals showing up in the future. Possibly even some that are more powerful than Thanos. I think this movie was a good addition to the MCU, and it successfully introduced a new group of characters with a lot of potential. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all things nerdy. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.